Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of It Happened to Me, brought to you by thisweirdworld.com. I'm very lucky to have on the show this week Miss Monica Lee. Hi, Monica. How are you?
Hey, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to have you on the show. We have a mutual friend in common, Mr. Justin Riley. I don't think he'll have a problem with me telling the world that, because he was on the show recently. And he was very kind to introduce us to each other, and I'm very, very excited that you're here. So why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself, and let's get into your stories.
Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting me, and shout out to Justin. He's been a dear friend of mine, and we met accidentally and then found out we have so much in common, particularly the paranormal. And so anyway, I'm Monica Lee. I'm a Texas girl, born and raised. I am a psychic and a medium. I have been seeing spirits since I was 3 years old, is the earliest memory that I have, when I saw a full-bodied spirit in my grandmother's closet. And, at 3, you just think, oh, well, that's the weird uncle in the closet that, nobody wants to let out or something, because that's exactly what happened. Was that I was putting toys up or getting toys out, and I opened the closet, and there was this black shadow. And it wasn't really a shadow. It was shadow-like, but you can tell it was a body. It was a form. It was a person. And he put his finger to his lip, and he was like, shh. So I didn't think anything of it. Like I said, I thought he was, family. I didn't feel anything bad. I didn't feel anything other than I could see him, and he would just watch over me. So, okay, fine, great, whatever. And then after that, I saw more and more people. I was like, there's a lot of people that live here, as I grew older. And what I wasn't realizing was that nobody else was seeing these people. It was just me. So needless to say, my life is kind of like Grand Central Station, where I see everything and I'm like, okay, you real? No, you're good. You're good. I'll just walk right through you, past you, whatever. And so I started out seeing full-bodied spirits at a very, very early age. And then I could start feeling, shortly after that, I started feeling people's emotions. Going to the grocery store was horrible for me, because knowing what an empath was, I just turned 47 on Halloween. So it's been a long time that I've been doing this, but when you're, back in the day, you didn't have Google or anything like that to figure out what you are, what's going on. See, it's not like you could Google empath, or
back in the day, we actually had to go to the library and get books and learn about the subject.
Yeah. So what I didn't know was that I was feeling people's emotions and the energies in the rooms. And I was a sickly child. I was always sick with asthma. And they always say that those that have problems with asthma are typically some kind of a psychic medium, empath, because we struggle to breathe for the world. So I dealt with that and kept it a secret, because, the man in the closet always told me to shh. So I did it. I had nothing. I had nobody. But on the weekends, I would go to the library and just research and investigate anything and everything that I could on paranormal activity and energy and spiritualism and, everything. And again, at an early age, when you have nothing or nobody, you become isolated. And it was kind of like I was just walk through life, and it was lonely, but at the same time, nobody ever knew, because I hid it so well.
So you didn't talk to any of your family members about being able to see people that weren't there?
Oh, no, I was very Catholic. We didn't talk about that.
Okay.
No. But my great-grandmother was different as well. And I think she picked up on me in the fact that I was different, quote, unquote, different. But she never said anything. But she always taught me about the herbs and about nature and being spiritual more than religious. And so, and her house was always just freaky. I mean, her house was just so haunted. It wasn't even. And she lived there till she was 97 years old, just happy as could be, and nothing bothered her. But people would go to her house and they couldn't spend the night. I mean, they literally could not last a night. And it never bothered me. Her and I were just happy as larks there. Just didn't faze us.
Fantastic.
And so, I mean, because we'd have family go visit and they would, literally come in the middle of the night to, our house or something like, yeah, we ain't staying there. So, since a very early age, I've known about it. I felt it. And it wasn't until I was older that I started helping others because, again, the background that I'm from, you just don't talk about it. And how my family found out was I was actually doing an interview on a radio show about 10, 12 years ago. And the guy that I was on the show with, he posted the link on my Facebook page. And he was like, we have Monica Lee live right now. And, she's talking about, paranormal activity and this and that. I did not realize he had tagged me to it. Well, my phone started blowing up because I'm talking about, paranormal stuff. And he was actually doing an interview about me. And so my mom was like, what do you mean you see ghosts and you talk to them and they talk to you? And I was like, what's happening? Well, I guess everybody that saw the link on my page tuned in. So that's how I came out of the paranormal closet, people. So it was like I led a double life because once I left my hometown, I was able to express that side of me and tap into it more. And it wasn't until I was even older and divorced that I was able to really show that side of me and open it up even more so because I didn't have anybody judging me. Because, everybody gets judged. Now it's like I laugh because people are like, oh, yeah, I see ghosts. And I'm on a paranormal team. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this before it was cool. So, I'm back there with Scooby-Doo.
Uh-huh. Well, and how did your family take it when you quote unquote, came out of the paranormal closet? So, I mean, obviously your phone blew up and people were asking you about it, but did your family accept that and were they okay with it?
Actually, yes, they were very accepting of it. And it was a show based upon, um, like I said, it was an interview about me. And because I'm not only, paranormal, I mean, a psychic medium, but, I have other things that are around me and, that I'm involved in. And so she was like, wait a minute, you're talking about ghosts and sexuality? I'm like, yeah, actually I am. So we had a conversation after that and she was like, well, we always thought you were a bit weird and a bit different. And now we know why. So they embrace it and now they can finally understand me. So it was kind of liberating in a way, but at the same time, it's like, how do you tell, your family? Oh yeah, I can see things, I can feel things, I know things. And then actually they start coming, they come to me all the time. What do you see? Can you do a psychic reading for someone? Can you talk to Aunt so and so because they need something? Or can you talk to my friend over here? I'm going to send you my neighbor.
So now they've got a guy on the inside is what you're trying to say.
Right. They got a guy on the inside. Yeah.
They know a guy.
I know you.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I know Monica Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, that's awesome.
They've been really great about it. And my son is gifted as well. He chooses not to tap into it so much. Whereas me, I'm just all wide open. So
very cool. And so it tends from my research to be that people tend to have a gift or two gifts, or they consider themselves a medium or a psychic or an intuitive. Kind of, what do you consider yourself and how ranging are your gifts?
I am clairaudient. So I can hear, I can see, I can smell, I can taste. All of my senses are wide open.
Okay.
So when I'm on investigations. When I've been brought into investigations, I walk in blind. Everybody knows what's going on, and of course they don't tell me anything, but I see past, present, future. I feel the energies. I can read it. I don't have to be right there in front of you. I actually have clients all over the world that reach out to me or that are sent to me to do clearings or to do readings. And I'm usually spot on when I'm, reading the energy, even via phone or Zoom or, Facebook Messenger, or whatever it is. So at first I thought, well, maybe I'm just the one that sees the other side. But again, I can see things, like I said, past, present, and future.
It's got
And
to be kind of taxing, I would assume.
it is extremely, and I've had to learn how do I put this? I had to learn how to put my own boundaries. I had to learn how to filter things out. I had to learn, especially when you're an empath, because when you're around people, I mean, every time you go out to the grocery store, you interact with people, energy is constant, and it can attach to you. Bits and pieces can attach to you. So, I could go into the grocery store and be in the best of moods, and I'm listening because they play really great music at our grocery store, and just singing and dancing, and I'm in line behind somebody, and all of a sudden I'm so sad, or I'm just angry, or whatever I'm picking up, I'm like a sponge, and I pick up their energy. And so I have to understand that's not me, that's not my stuff, and you have to filter it and release it back out to the universe. So yeah, and it used to make me very, very sick, and I would be, especially after an investigation that
Mm.
I would be on, I would literally be in bed for days.
I would imagine that would take a lot of self-reflection and self-assessment. Is this my emotion or is this something else?
Exactly. Exactly. Especially with sickness. I remembered one time I hugged somebody who was sick, and, they had pneumonia. Well, uh, I took it. Could have been that I was it was infectious, contagious, whatever. I literally felt such an emotion for this person that I just hugged them. And I was deeply saddened because I knew that they would not make it with this. And after hugging them, it was just within 24 hours, I was so sick, I was almost on a ventilator myself.
Wow. So now did that do any kind of transference? Was the person still sick and you just
Well, they got
you
better.
also got sick? They
They got
did?
better. They got better. Yeah. They were like, if you get sick if you get sick with pneumonia this time, you won't make it. And it was like I was saying, almost as if I was saying goodbye within that hug.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was like, please don't leave. And yeah, they got better, and I got sick, and I was sick for a while. But I was very young at that time, and again, I was still in that phase of trying to figure out, how do I release this? Okay, I don't mind helping people and helping them feel better and making them feel better, but I can't just hold on to all of it. How do I figure out how to do this? And the universe is so wonderful that, I found people along the way that became my mentors and my teachers and showed me how to release and filter what I needed that wasn't mine and send it back out to the universe, and how to ground and how to recharge.
Well, and is there a specific practice that you use or from a specific discipline? Because I know we kind of talked about this briefly on the phone the other night, when I called you asking for some help. And
Right.
there are different kinds of paranormal practices where they teach you energy management, and they teach you how to work with the gifts that you have. Is there a specific practice that you use or that you've worked with that you like the best?
For me, it's the moon.
Okay.
I recharge with the moon. I release with the moon. Um, Everybody is different, and it's not cookie cutter. You can't just go in and expect an investigation to go this way. Well, so and so did an investigation and it's going to go, it's textbook. It's not, nothing is always textbook and nothing is always cookie cutter. So for me, I recharge and I filter out by the moon. That's me. Midnight is my favorite time of day. And I go outside barefoot. I learned from a very, very beautiful man. He's no longer with us. He was my mentor. He used to tell me, he goes, "Mon chéri, you eat shadows for breakfast. Never be afraid, because you are the most light in the dark. So don't be afraid to go into the dark." So I've always been a night creature. Even since before birth, my mother would say, in the womb, I was up all night and kept her up all night and she'd sleep all day. And so that is when I always have my most energy, is at night. So he was like, he would tell me, he goes, "You'll figure it out. He goes, you will find your best time to recharge. There's a certain time to recharge." So midnight for me is the time that I go outside and I'm barefoot and I recharge by the moon.
Yeah. So you get out and you get yourself grounded and you're able to take in
I
energy and
ground.
release energy.
Yeah. I ground from the feet, from my feet down to the core of the earth. I bring that back, that energy back up from the middle of the earth, earth energy, and bring it back through every part of my body, up through the top, through the seventh chakra, and into the cosmic supernovas.
Okay. Well, since that is your grounding, would you consider yourself an earth witch?
I don't know. A lot of people ask me, "Are you a witch?" I'm just me.
Yeah. So you're just
Yeah.
doing what feels right for you.
I just do what feels right for me. I don't really associate with a label or a title. I'm just me. Some people call me weird. Some people call me, "Oh my gosh, Monica," or some, they're like, "Wow." But I don't really label myself as anything. I even struggle sometimes with psychic and medium, just because I don't like labels. So, yeah. But for me, like I said, earth energy and cosmic energy is what helps me to, it's like it takes everything out. It just filters everything from the ground up and back into the pure, the pure heavens, the cosmics and the stars and the stardust. So I even named my Jeep, the moon goddess.
That's awesome. I love it. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I guess I have two questions for you. One, do
Yes.
you have a specific ritual you use besides just taking energy from the earth and releasing? Do you have a specific ritual that you use to cleanse yourself of whatever might try to follow you home from an investigation, or do you just use the taking and releasing of energy as that ritual?
I use the taking and releasing of that. Um, and I just tell it. I learned it's as simple as saying, "Leave me alone." Like when I'm at work, I tell them, "Not while I'm working." They're like little kids, because the
Mm-hmm.
more you acknowledge them, and that's the thing, going back to when I first found my gift was, this man in the closet, whatever, he's telling me, "Shh." It's like when I never saw anything. Once I acknowledged him, it's like the door opens to that side, and everybody's like, "Oh, she can see. She sees us. Oh my gosh, she sees us. Let's go to her. She can help us." And that's typically what happens. And so some people slam the door shut and they're, nailing it and cementing it shut. And I was just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I'm just opening the door.
Here, come in. Let's have some tea.
Yeah, now let's chat a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I learned that you can put your boundaries. I'll tell them, "Not while I'm sleeping, not while I'm working," and it sounds so simple. And people, I think, want to put the dramatics on paranormal activity because of, ratings and shows and TVs and stuff like that, and make it something into this big whole dramatic thing. And it can be scary and it can be, overwhelming to somebody who's never dealt with it. But, when I'm called in to do investigations, I will go in and I will tell people what I see, and they'll record me, and they're like, oh, okay. Uh, and then once I, you know, go through clearing someplace, again, like I said, energy is constant, and it doesn't matter if I took, a broom and a mop and cleaned your house from top to bottom. The minute you go back outside, you bring something else back in. And it just depends on where are you at and what kind of day did you have and what kind of energy is attaching to you. You just brought that back in. I mean, it's like bringing your dirty feet back into a clean house. So I tell people, yeah, you can call your pastors, you can call paranormal groups in, you can call people in all you want, but you have to take responsibility of cleaning your own house. And so I help people to do that. I help them keep their house clear. They'll call me and they're like, oh, I got this going on. Can you see what's happening? And I'll tell them, oh, yeah, I see this. And they're like, oh, that's exactly what's happening. I'm okay. This is what you need to do. Remember, this is what I showed you. Remember, this is how I told you to clear. And it stays quiet for a while. And, they'll call me back and they're like, oh, I went and, I had some people come over and, they spent the night for the weekend, whatever. And now things are kind of unruly, or they're like, I don't know what's going on in my house. I'm like, what did you do? Mm-hmm. And I said, one of my clients was like, there's some really weird things going on and it's just a really heavy energy. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. Let me tap in. I said, I feel really angry energy around you. Like, I'm mad that you painted the walls. And she goes, I did paint the walls. I said, well, the people that used to own that house that have been sitting there very quiet in the corner, happy that you love their house, they are now mad that you painted their walls and didn't ask them. I'm like, oh my gosh, we didn't even think about that. So I said, we have to be mindful of the energy around us, especially in the older houses. They're not ours. We weren't there first. We go restoring them and tearing them apart. Well, I tell people, be nice humans. Ask permission before you do something, There might be some trapped spirit there that doesn't know any different, and they get upset. So again, I when it comes to clearing, from me personally myself, I just tell them, just don't follow me. I put my boundary up. I still take my precautions, and I'll do an Epsom salt bath and, go through my meditation. I meditate every night to clear. And again, I'm outside at midnight with my arms up, howling at the moon.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
Well, while I've got you on, I do know that you do paranormal investigations. Is there a specific investigation that stands out in your mind, one that was extremely difficult or awesome, or maybe one where you were the most scared or something like that?
Yes, many come to mind, but I think the one that I was the most scared at was, and here's the thing, everybody wants to do an investigation at a hospital. I get it. You're going to see a lot of activity there, or you may not. People are born there. People die there, so I was brought into an investigation.
Lots of energy in a hospital.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got everything in there. And yes, this hospital was known to be extremely active. And it just happened that, I was brought in. I was one of 3 people that were brought in to help on the investigation.
All right, I have to ask a question. Is this hospital in South Texas?
Maybe.
I think I may know the hospital that you're talking about.
Well, you probably do. Yeah. It's kind of known here in Texas.
Yes.
And so I was brought in, and like I said, I was one of three gifted people to be brought in. And so we're doing the preliminary walkthrough, and we're walking through, and we get towards a certain area, And again, it's daylight. The team was experienced, and they're walking around with microphones and video recorders, and everybody's batteries keeps going down. And I'm just telling them, oh, here, I'm picking this up, and I'm picking this up, and I don't, and I hear, as we get towards a certain part, you hear, shut the F up. I mean, it was more, ominous, and I was like, did y'all hear that? Did y'all capture that? And they're like, we didn't hear anything. What? And I said, here it goes again. They're already telling us to leave. And of course, nobody can hear it, but I'm hearing everything. So we get outside, and we're getting ready, everything is getting set up, and the person who was recording came running, and they're like, oh, we're in for a treat. Here's where Monica says, did y'all get that? And you could hear very clearly, shut the F up, as if it was you talking right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, here we go. So I was standing there. The hospital was abandoned. I was standing in the entrance, and it's kind of like it was weird. It was almost like a vortex. You can feel the energy around me, and people were trying to, the temperature around me drops, and people are recording it, and they're showing, wow, everybody's cell phones are going crazy. It was very active, to say the least. And I was fine with all that because, I was okay. The part that got me was we're about 3 or 4 hours in, and, I'm just kind of going with the flow, telling them what I'm picking up, what's going on. And one of the lead investigators said, okay, let's go upstairs. So we took the stairs, and we already had encountered an energy downstairs that was not very friendly, and was actually he was physically touching us in certain ways. And I was like, oh, this is not nice. We don't do this. And um, one of the other persons that, and one of the other people that were there that was gifted, she wound up leaving because she was like, this is just too much. I can't. No, if I'm feeling it, no.
It was
So
overwhelming.
Yes, she left. And the other one stayed downstairs. I went upstairs. Well, that one went upstairs. That energy met the both of us upstairs, and we were on a delay. He had some kind of device where it was like a 3-second delay for what he could hear in real time, what I'm hearing. So you hear a bed squeaking. It is probably about 2:30 in the morning. You hear a bed squeaking, and then you hear a voice that says, come F me. And I was like, did you hear that? He goes, yep. I said, I'm out. I'm gone. We're good. I don't even remember walking down the stairs. 3 flights of stairs. I think I just jumped to the bottom. Said, it's been real. It's been nice. This is getting out of hand. I think you have more than enough documentation of what you need. I think you can clearly say you had a successful night of paranormal activity. I'm out. Make sure y'all clean yourself and go home and, take baths.
So chunk deuce, bitches, Monica's out.
Yeah. See ya.
That's awesome.
And I had to drive 14 miles home, and it was the longest 14 miles. So I'm getting into my truck. And so I was like, what was that? And my skin was crawling, and I had to gather my composure. And again, it was like 2:30 in the morning. And so I found an open area, and the moon, it wasn't a full moon. And I just got out of my truck, and I just stood there, took off my shoes, and I just grounded, and I was okay. And I was okay to go home because I was like, that was some crazy, crazy stuff. And a lot of people got sick from that were there.
Mm.
Yeah, it just wasn't. A lot of people, I think, go into paranormal investigations thinking, oh yeah, I'm good. this is good. I'm going to provoke. And I'm like, you don't provoke anything. Again, we have to be mindful that this is energy and we have to be nice humans because you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what's going to open up from the, on the other side. And, I have actually helped people that have TV shows. They have their own TV shows and they're on national TV, and they come to me for help to figure out, why am I feeling like this? What's going on? What's happening? And I tell them, you can't just go in guns blazing thinking I'm going to have the best paranormal show ever, and I'm just going to go and provoke and wake everything up and without consequence. So, we have to be careful. We have to be mindful and just respect the energy that's around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think you're absolutely right. People go in and they throw themselves in the middle of this thing, and they're not really even sure what's going on, and they start
Exactly.
screaming and yelling at stuff, and it's like, dude, you know that, not saying that what's here is dark, right? But whatever is here, you have no idea, first off. And some
Exactly.
people aren't nice in life, and they're not nice in death.
Exactly. Or,
So
exactly. And they just take it for granted. And, I have been shoved, I have been choked, I have been scratched. It's the most bizarre thing to, it's not there, but yet, you can't see it, but yet it's there. And people are seeing the scratches on me and seeing the, fingerprints around my throat. And I guess I used to be skeptical of my own gifts because I'm like, yeah, that's just,
yes, yes, I do.
but at the same time, you're seeing this recorded and you're seeing it documented by others. And you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So this
So,
thing I said I heard, all of a sudden it's on the tape. There's the thing that I said I heard. There it is. So
yes,
I heard it. No one else heard it, but there it is. It's on the tape.
exactly. It's like, I, I just, it's not that I doubt myself. It's that, it's so far out there and so weird that energy is there, but yet it's clearly documented. And they actually were trying to do a documentary about that particular night, and they could not be successful with it because it was just so many things kept happening or happening to the person that was trying to create it, or things would get destroyed. And I said, you know what? There are just some things that don't need to be or shouldn't be advertised. If it's, clearly this is not something that, if it's more difficult to create this documentary than anything else, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can just leave it alone.
Yeah. Well, there are definitely some places I feel that people shouldn't go.
Absolutely. Again, and I tell people, why would you pay buku money to go into some place that you don't know what it is, and there's a possibility that something could attach to you and go home with you? I get it. It's the thrill of the hunt. It's the adrenaline. It's like going on a safari for ghosts or paranormal activity, you know, and they think, oh, well, a lion's not going to chase you. No, but you could have some paranormal juju thrown at you, and, it's so, yeah. And every time there's some kind of new movie that comes out, people will message me and they're like, I'm having bad dreams. I said, did you go watch that new movie? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's what you got to do. Here's what you're going to have to do. Drink a little salt water, take a little bath, go
Yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I know that you also have a show. If you'd like to take a minute to promote that, now is your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. So yes, on top, this is what I was trying to talk about earlier, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to cross any lines there.
No, it's all yours. Go
Uh,
ahead.
So I'm actually a psychic medium, but I'm also a relationship and intimacy coach, a sex educator, advocate, a tantra practitioner. So I teach people how to practice tantra. I'm a writer, and soon to be published author. And I'm also the creator and host of Front Porch Sex Talk with Monica Lee.
Awesome.
So
And is
I
that a
talk
web
about
show or is that on a terrestrial radio?
it is, you can find me on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, Pandora, Amazon, Spotify. Yeah, those types of places for podcasts. And I talk about sexual health, dysfunctions, female intimacy issues, love, relationships, all kind, everything. Especially how to have really great sex and open that cosmic consciousness to have a sexual awakening.
Well, maybe if more people had great sex, we'd have less violence in the world. You never know.
You know, I post that all the time. If people would just eat more tacos, eat more chocolate cupcakes, and have more orgasms, we would have world peace.
And on that note, I think we can call a close to this episode of It Happened to Me. What a wonderful way to end the show, Monica. Thank you so much for being on here.
Having me. This has been fun.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can just hang out for a minute, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.